we're going to break down the Toulmin method or the Toulmin analysis, which is a great way for us to analyze arguments. Whether you're looking at someone else's argument or building your own, this method will specifically help you break down the different parts of an argument and see how they fit together. Now, the Toulmin method is specifically useful because it helps us figure out if an argument is strong or weak. And we can do this by simply just looking at its structure. Think of it as if you're taking apart a machine. You want to see how all of these parts work together and where they might break down. So let's walk through each part of this model and take a closer look. Now, this diagram visually represents how the Toulmin method works. We start with our claim. Now, the claim is the main argument or conclusion that the writer is trying to prove. To support it, we need grounds, which are the specific facts, data, or evidence backing up the claim. Well, you might ask yourself, but how do we know the evidence actually connects to the claim? Well, that's where our warrant comes in. Now, the warrant explains why the grounds logically support the claim. If the warrant itself needs further support, we use our backing, which provides additional justification if needed. Now, sometimes claims aren't absolute, and that's where the qualifier will come in. This sets limits by using words like most, sometimes, or likely to make the argument a little bit more reasonable. Finally, a strong argument always considers the rebuttal, which acknowledges any counter-arguments or potential exceptions. Addressing rebuttals will show that you have a well-thought-out argument and that you are very well-informed on the issue overall, not just your own side. So now that we have a clear picture of the Toulmin model, let's break down each part into more detail. Now, let's go ahead and start with the claim. Now, the claim is the main point of the argument, as we mentioned earlier, the central idea that everything else supports. Think of it as an umbrella, and all the reasoning evidence should fit under that umbrella. If something doesn't fit, it's not relevant, and it actually ends up weakening your argument. So, for example, if someone argues, schools should switch to a four-day school week. That's a claim, but by itself, it's just an opinion because it needs support to be persuasive. Now we have our grounds, and this is what's going to support our claim. Grounds are specific facts, data, or evidence that support the claim. If someone asks, well, why should I believe you? The grounds provide the answer. So for the claim we mentioned earlier, strong grounds might be studies show that a shorter school week improves student focus and reduces burnout, or schools that have adapted the schedule report higher attendance rates and lower stress levels. But without clear and credible grounds, the claim will remain unsupported and unconvincing. So we want to make sure that we add those grounds to support our claim. Next, we have our qualifiers. Now, most arguments aren't 100% certain, and that's where qualifiers come in. These are words like some, most, usually, typically, and they soften absolute statements, making them a little bit more reasonable. So an example we have here is one without a qualifier. Schools should switch to a 4-day school week. With a qualifier, most schools would benefit from switching to a 4-day school week. In this case, our qualifier is most. And if you notice, the second version is a little bit more stronger because it accounts for exceptions and avoids making an overly broad claim, which we want to avoid. And here we have more common qualifiers. Make sure you read through that. Next, we have our reasons. So reasons explains why the claim is valid. Think of it as an umbrella. Reasons are like the spokes that keep it open, and if the reasons are weak, the whole argument will collapse. Now, to test a reason, ask yourself, 1, is it relevant? So does it directly support the claim? 2, is it good? Does it appeal to values most people accept? For example, schools should switch to a 4-day school week because pizza is the most popular lunch choice. That's not relevant per se. Our next example, schools should switch to a 4-day school week because it improves student performance. Now that is relevant. So we want to ensure that our reasons are relevant. Next, we have evidence. Well, we know that good evidence helps our arguments become strong. And good arguments rely on the strong evidence to support their reasons. So without evidence, an argument is like an umbrella without a handle. It's flimsy and hard to hold on. So to be convincing, the evidence must be 1, sufficient. Ask yourself, is there enough? 2, credible. Does it come from a trustworthy source? And 3, accurate. Is the information truthful and up to date? For example, for the claim that we've been looking at about the 4-day school week, a strong evidence might be a national study that shows students scored 5% higher on standardized tests, or a reputable education research institute that confirms these findings. If our evidence, however, is weak or biased, the argument will lose credibility. So we want to ensure that whatever evidence we are using is not biased and is strong. Next, we have objections and rebuttals. Now, a strong argument will anticipate counterarguments and address them effectively. For example, for our claim that we've been going over, an objection might be, but working parents might struggle with childcare on the extra day off. Your rebuttal might look like, however, many school districts offer optional enrichment programs on the 5th day to help parents with childcare needs. We want to essentially look into the future and think about what possible counter arguments might arise and build a rebuttal based off of that. Now, mastering this method will help you think critically, argue effectively, and write stronger essays. And it'll take some practice, but understanding the Toulmin analysis will help you break down other people's arguments and strengthen your own by making sure that your claims are supported with clear reasoning and strong evidence and well thought out rebuttals. Now, for essay 2, you're going to be using this method to analyze cars. Is Google making us stupid? So the more you practice, the better you'll get at spotting weak arguments and making your own writing more persuasive. So as you read and write, keep asking yourself, does the claim make sense? Is there strong evidence, grounds to support it? Does the warrant clearly connect the evidence to the claim? And are there any counter arguments, and how are they handled? This will cover all of the pieces of the argument that you will either write or analyze. Okay, so keep this model in mind as you work on essay 2, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.